Everyone, thanks for coming. So some of you should have gotten a text message. Let's see who got one. Not Isaac, he doesn't work here. Rebecca, Chad got them. Awesome. So yeah, if you guys want to play around with it just in the beginning as a demo, you can text the number. It'll appear here. Here, I can let you go. For everyone else, I can let you know what the number is if you're curious. It is 585-205-7020. Sorry, news just probably won't work in the UK. But yeah, so anyway, so this is just a small demo basically of the type of kind of functionality that we can do. So I was able to send text messages to everyone, and I'm able to receive text messages, which is basically going to be kind of a core thing that we're going to investigate throughout this. Basically, this whole thing was inspired when I wrote the 10x factor vote inflator. So essentially the idea was that I could hack the 10x text message voting system that Hilliard built by basically taking phone numbers from this API Tropo and sending text messages from each of these different phone numbers that I would own, and all vote for the same thing. And so basically it worked kind of exactly the same way that just happened now, where it would just loop through a bunch of numbers, from those numbers texting the max number of votes that it could to do it. It should probably be mentioned that I didn't actually ever use it during 10x, just blogged about it and let Hilliard know about the vulnerabilities. Luckily he's not here now, so he hasn't patched them yet, as far as I know. So I mean, with that, we can go ahead and switch to at least the beginning of the presentation stuff. There we go. Play from start. Awesome. So yeah, so basically this is going to be about SMS and voice APIs. As Kenny mentioned in his, these are pilots for potential 13-week NXJU courses. So essentially what I'm going to do is attempt to cover way too much to kind of give you a flavor of what the whole 13 weeks might be. So at the core, we're on week 8, which I call playing nice with others, popular APIs, specifically looking at telephoning APIs. But we're going to do a little bit of Git, we're going to do a little bit of Ruby, some micro frameworks using Sinatra, a tiny bit of GitHub. I'm going to introduce you to Bitbucket and just end with some kind of best practices philosophies. So hopefully we'll do that all within an hour. So to start, everyone should probably have your machines basically set up. Is there anyone who doesn't have it set up? I know Isaac is currently installing Sinatra. So I mean, if you need any setups, basically this is all it is. To install Ruby and then gem install Sinatra and Tropo. Tropo is the one thing actually that I didn't mention in the meeting invite. So I think Blackie, Chad, you guys are all set up. I even already checked out the GitHub repository for you. For other people like Matt, if you want to just gem install Tropo Web API-Ruby, you got it? Cool. All good? All right, sounds good. Moving on. So to start, I just want to talk about very basic Git. And so Git's going to look very similar to what we use, SVN. I'm sure some of you are probably already familiar with it, but at the very core level, the basic workflow is to start a new repository. In terminal, you just do a git init. Same thing with SVN, you git add file names, and then you commit. The difference with Git is that your commits aren't going directly to the actual repository, it's just a local repository. So with Git, after you can commit things, and then you can choose to push them to a repository. The reason this is really cool is for branching, which I'm not going to touch much here, but for me it's cool because I am constantly pushing to multiple repositories. I'll push to my own private hosting Bitbucket, I'll push to GitHub for open source, and then I'll also push to Heroku when I actually want to deploy applications. So you can add multiple servers with this git remote add origin. And so the origin, you can change the name, so I'll add, GitHub, Bitbucket, Heroku, and then I can just push to these different places after making all of my commits. And so then you just do a git push. So with that, so all on your computers, if you would like I said, Blackie and Chad already have it set up, so you guys can just navigate to the NXJU folder. But basically, you just need to find a directory you want to work in, do a git init, and then do a git pull from my GitHub, and this should have specifically the files that we want to play with today. github.com/JonathanHCulver/SMSdemo.git. Isaac, you might have it already too. Do you have
Sinatra failed to install.
Failed? All right, Matt can help you. Yeah. Yep, it's training 1.
All lowercase?
Yep, all lowercase. Yeah, so for Chad, Blackie, Isaac, the username's training, the password's training 1. If you ever need any password stuff. Cool. Rebecca, Artem, you guys good? Able to? Yeah.
Is there a difference between git init and git pull or git clone?
So the init is just initializing the empty repository.
Right.
Oh.
Can you just git clone that?
Maybe. I'm definitely not an expert on these things. Yeah. So I mean, I'm going to be touching on these things like very basically. So I mean, you can also do like git fetches as well, or git checkout. Honestly, not sure what all the differences are. Cool. So now with that, we're going to move on. You should have a file that is called something like learnruby.rb if you want to check it out. So first, we're just going to cover some very basic Ruby syntax. Have any of you played with Ruby before? I know Matt has. Matt, Artem, cool, a little bit Blackie, awesome. So basically, this comes from an awesome site called Learn X and Y Minutes, which has a bunch of different languages, and basically just has a file of the different syntax for them of all the basic things in programming languages. So I just pulled that from here. And so basically the biggest thing about Ruby that's kind of different is that everything is an object. Strings are object, numbers are object. And so you can do this .class, which will tell you what this actually is. This is a fixed num, and you can do a .to_s to turn it to a string. For kind of output that we'll be using, we do puts instead of print, unlike PHP. The variables are the same, except you don't have to initialize it with any sort of $sign or var. You just write it plainly, and arrays look like you're used to as well. I mean, another thing that might be a little different is that there's no curly braces, there's no brackets, there's no parentheses. It's all basically you indent it to make it recognize that sort of thing. So we can move on to the next step. Just a couple other things like I said, for our control structures, our if, else if, we don't have any parentheses. It's basically just the indentation that makes it syntactically significant, and then we end things with an end instead of a curly brace, unlike PHP. Something that's kind of cool in Ruby as well is that for loops, well, no one uses for loops, but if you can do like a for counter in 1 to 5, 1.5. But what you can also do is you can just do 1 to 5 dot each do, and then in the same way you can just take an actual data structure like an array and say dot each, and it'll just iterate through the array. So that's what people normally do for loops in Ruby. So just our last thing, that basically just trying to cover the very basic things that we might need for today. Something that's interesting in Ruby too is they have these things called symbols, which are like constants, which have these, the colon and then what it is. So as you can see, since it's an object, the class is a symbol. And also functions are pretty similar to what might be in Python. You just do a def, and then you end it with an end. So it should look fairly similar to what we're used to. And then I included a short version of this file and a long version of this file in your repositories that should tell you all of the different kind of Ruby syntax that you might need to know. So moving on now, I just want to talk a little bit about Sinatra. So Sinatra is a thing called a micro framework, which are really awesome. These things are basically one file frameworks that kind of wrap everything together. And so the way they work is that they use these things called routes, and there's a lot more advanced functionality, but for today all we need to know is about the routes. And these are basically HTTP methods for URL matching. So it's all the normal HTTP things, you know, get, post, delete, whatever. And then there's, you know, some advanced ones, unlink, link, options. So you know what you can do is you can have a get, and then if you have a form that posts to something, you'd have a post, and that's where you would handle all of your inputs, and then the form would just call that post, and then everything can be routed from this file. And then you can just see the syntax of it, starting with the whatever method is get or post, and then ending with an end. So essentially, that's just basically Sinatra, which is great for just, you know, really quickly developing things. So now we're actually going to move on to trying to set some stuff up. So if you signed up for Tunneler, you can log into your account now to find out exactly what SSH command you need. Tunneler is awesome because what it does is it creates a SSH to your local host, so then your local host can be accessed from anywhere. So, so for example, if you guys wanted to go to, let me just go out of this for a second. So I should be, so you can see that I have, so currently I have a tunnel set up to my own local host, just jculver-t.tunneler.com, which is just my my hello world normal get for the root. And so you can see I also have it right here at the local host. So this is the script I ran to. That's the script I ran to text everyone that it was starting. And so then basically you can set up your tunneler here, and then the way you do it is you just enter the command here. You can see that I just entered it using 4567 because that's the port that Ruby likes to run on, or Sinatra. And then it'll ask you your password, then it starts your tunnel. So anyone set it up? Blackie? You want to sign up for it?
Yeah,
Or do you want to sign up for it? Basically, all you have to do is on Tunneler's actual website, you just have to go to help, and this will tell you the exact command that you need to run. The default is for port 8080, but for Sinatra we're using 4567, so you just change that part is all. So the reason that we're using Tunneler is because for the way that the actual Tropo works, the actual SMS API, is that it sits on its own server, and what you have to do is you have to hit Tropo, and then you tell it what scripts that you have hosted for it to call to pass through the session information of all of the texting and voice. That's unfortunate. So basically what you would do with Tropo is that, so when you sign into Tropo, you would do a couple main things. You would create a new app, and this would be a web HTTP API app. So basically this just means that you are hosting your own code, and you just tell Tropo where it should call when it gets a request. And so you can define two different ones for both voice and text. So I set up one for just /voice.json and /sms.json for voice and text. So you should see in your hi.rb file that you checked out that it should have kind of this initialized but kind of empty, kind of fill in the blank for these different things. And then the last important step is to actually attach a phone number to your app. So that's the phone number that you got the text message from, and then you'll be able to text back. That's that phone number right there. And so that's actually attached to my app. What's cool is that if you send a text to this number, basically you hit Tropo, and Tropo sees whether it was a voice or a text, if you called it or if you sent an SMS, and then it will call one of the things based on it, and it passes session information about the number, the actual content of the message, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Similarly, to actually send text messages, you can do a curl or call an HTTP actual API URL for Tropo, and that will simulate the same thing as if the number was texted or called. It will call it, and then it will again call one of your scripts to actually do something. So that's really good for programmatically sending text messages from an actual web app, which is how I did the actual vote inflator, because you submit a form and it calls Tropo and send a bunch of text messages. So if anyone would like to, if you signed up for Tropo after Blackie gets Tunneler set up, you can sign up for Tropo and create an app. This is basically how you would do it. The reason that it's .json is that the API is essentially just passing JSON arrays back and forth to each other. So that's how it handles that. So I mean, with that, we can go on to just some basic code. So for the demo I showed, where you're actually sending text messages to this number and it's printing out the message content, we're getting, what it's doing is we're using this Tropo API, which if you look in your hi.rb file, it'll show it's requiring Tropo and Sinatra. And so we're creating a new instance of this Tropo and this kind of session stuff to actually get the information. So this isn't completely filled out. I don't know if anyone's actually in a position to play with this right now. Anyone have? Matt, maybe? So if you wanted to play with it, basically what you could do is we added this puts to just debug to see what's returned. So this is going to give you back an array and tell you exactly what happens from a text message. So if you have a number attached to your app and you text it, and then you have this running, then it will display exactly what comes back, and you can find out exactly what variables to use to find out the message that comes back, the phone number it receives from, all sorts of information like that. So I don't know if anyone wants to. Are we in a position where we can play with this, or should we just move on? So you should be able to go to your actual.
Alright, so if I run the command it gives me, is there any way to tell from that
Not from the command. It'll ask you for a password, then it won't do anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, but you should, from Tunneler, you should.
Correct.
So you should have a web address, right? Oh, I guess I forgot to mention one thing. To run Sinatra, you just type in Ruby space hi.rb in your terminal. From when you're in that folder, and so that'll actually start your Sinatra app. And so then from Tunneler you should see a address. So like for me it was jculver-t.tunneler.com, and so then if you are running your Ruby app and you go to that, you should see a hello world. So that's how we're able to debug that one. Yes, sir.
So you use Sinatra because you like Ruby, but in theory you could use any
micro framework.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've actually written stuff in PHP, Ruby, and Node.js. So they're all essentially the same concept. Node.js is the same type of thing with this kind of micro framework routes. And then PHP lately I've been using a micro framework called Slim, which kind of does the same stuff. But yeah, so it's basically, it's not really about Ruby, it's more about the actual kind of paradigm of this kind of micro framework routes thing. Basically I just want to show you Ruby because they're kind of a big part of my intention for this overall course is just to introduce people to new technologies they might not normally know, kind of get them out of their comfort zones, kind of see these, these new things that might be available. So is anyone in a position to play with this? We can tailor this however you guys want to do it. We can play with this, we can just keep talking, whatever. Lucky, I see you're setting up a tunnel. Nice. Artem, did you figure yours out? Is it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so I mean you can play with that. If you want, I guess I can go ahead and just show the actual. Why don't I just show the actual app itself, so you can see how it worked. So we can go to my GitHub. Oh, that's right. I did not commit this. My bad. Here we go. Alright, yeah, so this is what you guys should have, this hi.rb. You can see that we're requiring Sinatra and Tropo. When we run it, we just run a, it might be hard to see, but back over here, I just ran a hello. So I have two different ones. I have a fleshed out one called hello, and you guys have one called hi. So just Ruby hello to RB, and you'll be able to see that it gives out the output, and it says that, you know, Sinatra has taken the stage on 4, 5, 6, 7 for development, and then that's how you can see all the requests that come in directly through the terminal. We can see, so basically every time I sent a text message, it made a post to this SMS.json, and so that texted all you guys. There's tons of them, and then when we got responses back, it printed out those responses here, and so you can see all of the kind of the debugging stuff here and the IPs it came from. Cool. So that's that, and so I can show you the actual my actual code. So ignore these super sensitive tokens I have up there, and so basically, so for mine I have it calls, so you I call text slash, here we go. I call text right there, this get request, and then we get to do this cool Ruby thing where I have an array of all your phone numbers, and we just do a dot each, and it goes through them all, and calls my call SMS function, and so then you can see this here. So this is what I was talking about with the HTTP curl URL stuff. So Ruby has another cool gem called net HTTP, which allows you to just essentially be like curl and parse these URLs. And so we just pass the appropriate stuff in, the token. In Ruby, the $sign is a global variable. And then the phone number and then the text of the message. I cheated a little bit, and the text of the message that I passed through was fake. And so the app calls this, so this is calling Tropo, and Tropo goes back and calls what we set up to it, the SMS.json. And so over here in SMS.json, so you can, so before that kind of like mystery I was trying to be coy about, the text of a message is called initial text. In Ruby, the convention is to use what I have now learned is called snake case, which is the underscores instead of like camel case that we might use a lot. And so we have this array, we have this initial text, and basically this allows me to tell if I received a text message or if I initiated the request itself from the server. So basically, if there is text, then it means that we just received one, and so go ahead and run whatever we do with received text messages. If there's no text, it means that I initiated the call, and so then send an SMS, and so then we can, we have this awesome function right here that takes the phone numbers from, so we have this from phone number, which is the phone number that's attached to your app, which I made a global variable, and then we have, and I hard-coded this nice message right here. And then that will go through, and so then this actually, so this uses these Tropo objects to use this t.call method. So it says who's to from the network, and then that just goes through and sends all the text messages. So that's basically sending text messages, and the 10x vote inflator worked exactly the same way. Yes.
I'm a little confused why there was so many steps.
So there didn't have to be.
Isn't Tropo the one sending the actual text message?
Yeah.
On your behalf?
Yeah.
So why would you call that send SMS? Is there like, you're sending it to something that's going to respond to you, that's going to make you respond back? Why can't it just be a one step?
So,
This text message?
so The app itself has to call Tropo to be able to, it has to like route through Tropo to go back to send it. So then the app itself says like, send these phone numbers, call Tropo, and then Tropo calls back to your function that actually sends them. It's a lot less steps when you were just texting it directly, because when you're texting it directly, that itself calls Tropo, which will then just call your send function. This is a little bit more verbose than it has to be, because like I didn't need to have separate functions for these necessarily. Like this whole thing.
I'm saying about the actual, like when you actually make different requests from different applications, right? So the internal functions I don't care about. I'm saying I get kind of lost when you said you say send SMS, and that goes to Tropo, and then Tropo responds with something.
Mm-hmm.
What is its response?
So why
isn't its response to send the SMS?
So, because you write the actual code to handle it. Like Tropo passes the session information that you need to be able to send it. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, don't you tell Tropo to send text messages?
Yeah.
I just get kind of lost like whether there's a middle step of Tropo back and then the Tropo again.
Yeah.
Is there like some like an access token or something?
Yeah, exactly. You're sending an access token to it, which is these things I have up here, my voice and SMS tokens. And so you're sending a token to it, and this basically is just allowing you to call your actual functions.
So that actually, your send SMS right there on line 70, that's actually, 65. That function, that actually starts your session with Tropo?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That starts your session with Tropo, and then it goes to your actual, your functions actually do whatever you want with the information that you're passing through. But yeah, I mean, the voice API stuff's like pretty crazy. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that, I have no idea how it's working either. Which is one reason why, that's why I kind of call this becoming a telephone magician, because a lot of it actually seems like magic, like it's really, to me, it's like so cool that you can send text messages, make calls all with, programmatically. So with that, we can do another demo if that's what people want. So now we can go ahead and move on to some voice stuff. So I am going to now actually call this number and put it on speaker. Hopefully my thing's still running. Hopefully it is.
Hello, what you're working on? Wow, that was 25 years ago.
So yeah, that's basically, were you able to hear that? It might have been difficult. So super basic, basically you just call the phone number, and you're able to get a prompt, and so it asks what year I was born, and so I'm able to input numbers, and then from that it's able to make a calculation and say that was 25 years ago. So this is really cool for, if you think about any of the, like par español, like a prime dos, like messages you always hear, on phones, like this is exactly how they do it. You can make these type of call screening things. And so I actually made something similar with Node.js, but it was a call screener for recruiters. So essentially I get way too many calls from recruiters, and so basically the way it worked is, if you know John, like enter his birthday, and then if you enter your birthday, then it just transfers to my actual phone number. If you get it wrong, then it says, okay, cool, a text message with his email address has been sent to you. Like, I don't want to be connected if you don't actually know me. So that sort of thing is the type of thing you can do. So we can go ahead and just look at the code of how I accomplish that now. So same way, kind of similar to the text message stuff, you saw before that we said if it's a voice, call voice.json. And so we have this voice.json right here. And so Tropo has these awesome methods where basically you're passing this array right here of these symbols that we talked about before in Ruby that says that we're going to ask a question. So it's t.ask, and we're going to ask for digits. There's just a timeout in case no one responds. It'll hang up. Excuse me, we'll wait forever. Similar to how we sent the text message before, we can do just a say. Excuse me. So before we had a t.say. Same thing, use the same thing for both voice and SMS, ask what year you were born, and then we give some value for choices. And so then the cool thing with these type of voice things is the way you can kind of chain together events. So now we basically are able to say, you know, on event, you know, what do we do next? So there's a lot of other options. There's like, you know, if someone hangs up, if someone whatever hits this, does that. But in this case, it's just if we're continuing, you know, so if they go ahead and they enter the response, what do you do next with it? So then we're able to, we have another post function, this continue.json. Same thing, we initialize, again, the tropo objects. And so similar to how we got the text message value, we're able to get the actual value of the what someone typed in. And then we just do silly little math on it, this year minus, you know, what the answer was, and then again, just a t.say to respond. So these type of things you're able to, yeah, Isaac.
I just have a Ruby question. When you say post continue.json, you're declaring that your address only receives post data?
Mm-hmm.
What if you,
so you couldn't
get
like
request to that?
Yeah, so if you do a get request, it'll be an error. Like you couldn't just hit this in your browser like through the address bar. It has to be like an actual post.
Are you able to declare them as kind of like any type, and then inside the function itself determine what type of method it was? Like, can I say like get post put whatever at this address? Like it handles everything, or is it? I
am not positive. I mean, I think usually you wouldn't want to do that. Like the point would be to actually like, you know, say what they are.
Well, I know in Cake, one of the conventions is, you know, if you go to like the login screen, if it's a get, it shows the login screen. If it's a post to the same address, it handles the login. It's kind of like the same URL parameter, the same URL address, just two different things.
My guess is that you could probably do it, but I don't know off the top of my head. You know, like I said, there's a lot of kind of advanced functionality, and we're just gonna kind of skim over the basics now. But you can come back for the actual Sinatra course, and I'll research more on it. Anyone else have any questions about this? What we just did? Yes, sir.
Can I download something so I don't have to do any of the coding?
I mean, so in what respect?
What do you mean? Is there like some app that I can put on my phone that will basically let all this stuff get layered on top of my phone, so I could customize this and just change everything via an app, as opposed to just spending time coding? Because this is
sure. So I mean, there are some awesome apps that I love. There, I don't know if you've heard of Burner.
Nope.
So Burner is absolutely awesome. I think there's probably no E, I don't remember, where basically it's about disposable phone numbers. And so what you can do is you buy these disposable phone numbers and you can give them to people, and it does the same type of stuff where people can call them, you can text from them, all this type of stuff, and then the idea is you put it on Craigslist, whatever, and then if it gets compromised, you literally like burn it, like, you know, like drug dealers having burner phones back in the day, and then you just have a new one. And so that app's awesome. I kind of want to build something similar, with just like transferring phone numbers. But yeah, so there's that. There's also a competitor called Hushed, which does some cool telephone stuff. Same idea, kind of disposable phone numbers. Any other questions? Cool. So yeah, so I mean that's yes.
Yep. Is it similar to like that the SpoofNet or spoofing? Is that it? It's like when you can call in a number and then it's like a hub, and then you can call out of that number, but you like for the number that you're calling out of it, you basically like you'll show up as another number for the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do that too.
Yeah, so that's exactly what Burner does. You know, you would purchase a phone number like
that's essentially what it is,
and you just use it as your phone number and all through the app.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a privacy layer for your phone. Is what they call it. Yeah. Sure.
This is an example of you managing like a state flow, like, you know, voice state flow and pass it, transfer, pass it. So, like, have you built an application where like state flow is very complex and you have to get practices on how to handle that? Imagine you had to do this for like, you know, 10 different messages, 10 different things, like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so I mean, I can show you what my kind of call screener app looked like, and I mean, you're exactly right. It gets kind of out of control. Secretly, I'm considering doing a hackathon project on building essentially like a automated call screener for CS. So that would be the type of thing where it would have like a lot of states and of exactly how to handle that.
And going off that question, are you able to like, are each one of those considered like a single time and function calls, or can you track sessions of a call.
You can track sessions of the call. You can record calls too with Tropo. So you can actually like record everything. You can save them. You can, we could upload them to Dropbox, whatever. So we could have all recordings and transcripts. What's really cool is they have a fair amount of voice interpretation too. So when I was entering those numbers, you can actually say the numbers. Like you've seen those on other things too. They also have like foreign languages as well, so you can choose the voice that responds. So you can actually choose these different like personas. You can choose whether from the UK or from France or whatever, and have different languages as well. So they have a lot of pretty cool advanced functionality. Yeah, so this was in Node.js. So this was a little different, but it's the same idea. We have a post, and we say like, hi, you've reached John. If you're a recruiter, press 1. Otherwise, press 2. And so then on the answer, again, we continue to an answer, and I'm just doing some logging, and then basically we're like, okay, if they say they're a recruiter, then we're in this next state. And basically just leave, and then otherwise they say this, then it asks for my birthday, and then it goes to this other verify step. So I mean, like you said, there's a lot of chaining, and it gets kind of out of control pretty quick. So definitely something I have to think about and kind of refactoring and how to actually manage all of those states.
More to my question was like when you hit a web server, there's a session, sort of like data about the session that you had, like session variables that the server can see. If you direct someone to that verify, were you able to store some data about their call, saying that they came from location,
their number,
their
and
number? What? I mean, like, what is it? Are you able to define those on your own, or is it kind of like defined by Tropo itself?
So Tropo has all of your number and all that stuff.
But I can't make my own. Like, this person took X long to respond.
Oh yeah, you could. I mean, you could log that stuff yourself. You could say.
And then the
like,
next request could associate it with that same call.
Yeah,
That's
you
one way you
can.
could track that would be one way to manage the response structure. Just in session variables. So I guess you could store an array of X steps or something. But I can see it would go something like if they're all single requests and there's no backtracking, then there'd be a lot of like if else switching.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Kind of like your jQuery callback hell, or Yep. Cool. So does anyone else have any more questions about any of this? Yes. Oh, thank you. I should have brought that up way earlier.
Every time I have to make a call.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like.
Yeah. So this is. Yeah, no, definitely. And the funny thing about with the voice stuff, if there's an error, you get a busy signal, and then if there's an error in the middle of the call, it just hangs up abruptly on you. So basically, Tropo has its own debugging logs. So this is what I was running when I ran the demo before, and so a lot of things happened. We could just maybe search for my phone number. So you can see these things where it basically is initiating a call here, and then let's see what was my message, NXJU. Here we go. So it says exactly like you can see these JSON arrays right here, where it's saying what the channel is, the status, all this stuff, the IP, the host, the actual content of the message itself, and exactly what Tropo is doing at all times. So here's the actual response that it's sending. So it has a lot of defaults, and you don't need to fill out everything. So there's a lot of nulls, but the actual things that you need are the actual message, and then it sends this. Basically, you can just follow the train of everything it does here. And this basically, I actually found out that Tropo now requires kind of a 3-step account authentication process to be able to send any outbound SMSs. You can still do it for free, but they require a lot more authentication because I guess of abuses of their system, which to be fair, my app might have fallen within that category. So I exchanged a few emails with the customer service guy or the technical account manager guy yesterday, and I was like, oh, you guys always had this, because I used to have to do this, and basically now I guess it's a new thing because some people will probably send too many text messages. So basically, I was getting errors here, and it would just like abruptly stop, or you can see exceptions come in, and there's a an OK community on Stack Overflow and everything of actual Tropo, and there's an actual Tropo category, so you can search within all those things to find your answers. Any other questions? Cool. So so we're kind of, I guess, go ahead and nearing the end. Let's go ahead and oh, damn it, I do this again. Cool. So yeah, so like I mentioned, these were basically just the two components of what I just showed for the voice demo of chaining these events together. And like I said, I think it'd be fun to make like a foreign language menu and have different languages. You can you could switch the voices for Tropo with the different languages and to have a response. And so then I just wanted to end on kind of my, again, typical workflow is that if you signed up for bitbucket.org, it has private hosted repositories, unlike GitHub. So Bitbucket's model is interesting. You have to pay for additional contributors. Well, GitHub, you have to pay for private versus public. And so kind of the same way, we would just add our files that we worked on, we'd commit them, and then we would add like git remote add, and I would say Bitbucket. If you create a new project on Bitbucket, you would have a nice URL to add it to, and then we would just push there, and that would be done. So then I just wanted to end on a nice best practices concept, which is I like Google's "Don't be evil." So kind of similar to my 10x vote inflator. Like I said, you kind of have a lot of power with these type of APIs. You could easily spam your friends. You could have things go on forever. Just send you text messages, rack up bills. But I kind of like this principle of don't be evil, kind of like letting people know that these things exist without actually demoing them without their knowledge. So yeah, so with that, thank you guys. I like to kind of maintain my blog at culverlabs.co, and you can, all my internet presence is Jonathan H. Culver. If you want to check out any of my work, I kind of try to everything: Twitter, Facebook, GitHub, Snapchat, anything you want to communicate with me, that's how you can find me. So anyway, thanks guys. That's it.